Okay, it's about 7:30 in Panajachel, Guatemala, and my sister missed her airplane flight leaving Fort Wayne going to Atlanta. So I was leaving here shortly to go pick her up at the airport at around 2 o'clock, but now it's all repositioned. But what's been interesting, okay, I was walking down the, I can't get through there. I was walking down the road. It's very dangerous with the wolves at 6:30 in the morning because the sunrise is about 6:30. The good part is if you can get by the wolves here in Panajachel, it's pretty quiet right now. Okay, so I decided to make a video because there's this guy, Brett Weinstein, that was talking with Tucker Carlson about going through the Darien Gap. My friend Rich in Atlanta, actually, it's kind of funny, he's in Atlanta, sent me a video to watch. Now I try to avoid most of these videos because they're just kind of goofy in a way. But I've been threatening to go through the Darien Gap now for over, I don't know, 24 years probably, okay? Ever since I was first in Guatemala in, I don't know, 1998 or something like that. Okay, so I think the stars have arrived. I had actually talked about this when I went live a couple times about going to the Darien Gap or going to see the uncontacted tribes in near Pucallpa on the Amazon. I better sit down. Okay, well, I better not sit down. Okay, I was talking about going to see the uncontacted tribes in Breu, B-R-E-U, Peru, which is close to Pucallpa on the Amazon River. Okay, and I'd been there before, and I would like to go back again. Okay, but I have all these options right now. Noisy tuk-tuks. I have all these options, okay, and right now seems to be a great time to go through the Darien Gap because it appears that there's a lot of people going, okay, and in a way it's going to be a lot easier if there's a lot more people, okay. Sounds strange, but to get too much isolation is dangerous and too little isolation is dangerous. I mean, what you want is kind of a balance. I often say that to a foreigner, if you can't see any other foreigners, you're off the grid, okay? And most foreigners hardly ever go to a location where there are no other foreigners, okay? I do a lot, okay? But the Darien Gap is a piece of land between Panama and Colombia, and the best way to do it is to go with the grain, which would be from Colombia to Panama. When I was first there, okay, when I first went to Colombia, it was full of muchos secuestrados. They were kidnapping a lot of rich multinational foreigners. They didn't really kidnap the backpackers that much, but the narco traffickers were kidnapping things. So, you know, Colombia's actually evolved very good and changed a lot. Okay, the kidnappings is about down to zero, but in Mexico and Colombia, this is a business, okay? And I mean, Mexico's really bad for kidnapping rich people, okay? When you see that guy with the machine gun outside the hotel, he's not there to protect the guest, he's there to protect you, the owner of the hotel, from getting kidnapped. Okay, but all the stars are aligning right now for me to go to the Darien Gap. I have plenty of time. I would like to go to Monterey, California, I think in June, okay, and spend a month there for about 30 days to maybe 5 weeks, and then go to the United States on the 4th of July. But the Darien Gap is when I say the stars are aligning, what I'm saying is the flight to Medellin, Colombia is I don't know, like $80, then it's going to be $120 with my checked bag. And so the flights even from Medellin to Fort Lauderdale are very cheap. And what's bad is that the flights from anywhere in the United States to Monterey, California are very expensive, okay? I mean, it costs more to fly domestically than it does to fly internationally. But I can figure this out, and I need something to do that gets my blood rushing, because right now I'm kind of tired of these ever so wimpy tourists, okay? And that wake up at 10 o'clock in the morning. I'm waking up at 4 o'clock in the morning. I need something to do. No risk, no rush. But really nice to not have so much traffic right now. I'm gonna go sit in front of the Despensa Familiar, which is a they open up early. I've always liked to come out really early if I can get by the wolves. Very dangerous to wolves. And they are in attack mode before 8 o'clock in the morning. So they're protecting the house, and that's their job. Okay. But it's always nice to know what businesses open up early, especially if you're going to leave early. I think there might be one coffee shop that opens up at 6:30, okay, so the goal here would be for me to fly from Guatemala City to Medellin. The hard part here is I'd really like to leave the majority of my backpack in Panama, okay? So that when I go through the Darien Gap, I go lean and mean, okay? I'm not sure I actually have to, because a lot of the news on this kind of stuff, I've known many people that went through the Darien Gap, okay? There's even a movie, The Art of Travel, where he acts like they drove a four-wheel drive through there. What is the truth? Who knows, okay? Everybody makes something more complicated in. Now, it's a 60-mile stretch of what this man on the Brett thing was saying is a 60-mile stretch when the Pan American Highway is no longer there. Now, the Pan American Highway is just a connection of roads that already existed, and they didn't make some big 4-lane highway. Hola. They didn't make some big 4-lane highway. This is not what you would imagine a highway. It's a connection of roads, and they basically say you can follow this road and it'll change and it'll change and it'll change. And it doesn't say the Pan American Highway on it except once every 200 miles or something. I don't know. It's kind of a joke in that way, because it's not a highway. It's a road, okay? And he was saying it came from Prudhoe, Alaska, all the way to Panama. Then it had a gap of 60 miles. Then it has starts again. I've been on this whole road, and it's not a highway, okay? It's more of a 2-lane highway most of the way. And you're not going to be able to just drive your motorhome down it that easy. You can, but it's not advisable. Okay, so I'm Andy Lee Graham. I've lived in 114 countries and traveled nonstop for 25 years. And what I normally do on trips is I wait until the stars align. The stars align, what does that mean? That means everything comes together. I actually have, and this is a big deal, I have a backpack with one of those I bought a backpack for $20 that I was going to use to make my shoulder straps for my European bag, but the backpack is so much better than the bag that I was making that I've decided to not have a carry-on. I'm going to always check a bag anymore. And this bag is excellent, absolutely a great backpack. And I could talk for days about the benefits of this backpack. But it has a hip thing, and a hip thing goes around your hips, and what it does is it takes the weight from your shoulders and puts them on your hips. And this is what I really need if I'm going to go on a 60-mile hike. Now guess what? I'm not going to go on a 60-mile hike. I'm almost positive that most of the trip there's transportation, okay? And that's one of the reasons why I really want to do it, because you can see that there, on this video, if you watch it between Brett, B-R-E-T, Weinstein, and Tucker Carlson, as best I could tell, he just went down there for a couple days, okay? He didn't go do the 60-mile stretch, and he was talking kind of as an expert on something that he barely did, okay? And a lot of this stuff is very dangerous to talk about, because the coyotes is a mafia, okay? But I wouldn't want to just go do the experience, and I would like to do it without being alone, okay? And generally, the world adapts, and one of the great things about the adaptation of the world is if there's a need for transportation, they create the transportation. So if there's actually 500,000 people going through there in the last couple years, there's transportation, okay? And that means that I can pay for the transportation. A lot of these people are highly funded that are going on the trip. For somebody to leave Guatemala and go to the United States costs 100,000 quetzals. It's about $12,000 to pay to get there. There's transportation, it's all arranged, it's very organized. Okay, but I'm going to try to stay off that subject. Not a good subject. Okay, but my last month, my rent is finished on the 15th of February after my sister, 5 days after my sister's here. She's supposedly going to get on another plane, and we're going to go to the airport and try to get her somehow, okay? And my nephew. And I will make this happen for her to have a nice trip. We're trying to get it so that she comes in off of Sololok and arrives in the morning and has a beautiful view of the lake as she come down and see the lake. And it's going to be the most majestic, hopefully the most majestic way possible of entering the city, the Lake Athlon. But again, the Darien Gap is, I've been to Colombia probably 3 times. I've been to Panama, I don't know, 2 times. I've been to Venezuela 3 times. I've been to Ecuador, I don't know, probably 5 times. I really don't know, okay? I've been there so many times. But Medellin is pretty close to the Darien Gap. And over 20 years ago, I went with a girlfriend from Sinacelo. I think she was from Sinacelo, okay? And we went all the way to the coast, right to the left of the Darien Gap, and we sat on the beach. While we were on the beach, a bunch of military guys came up and asked us what we were doing, okay? It was kind of funny. I have a lot of funny stories about that girl, because at the time I didn't speak Spanish very well, and she says, "You don't understand me." I said, "Sí, yo entiendo." She says, "Ma o menos." And I go, "You say ma o menos, you don't say mas o menos. Mas o menos is correcto." And I was saying that her accent and the way she spoke was very short, kind of like the very bad Spanish of Dominican Republic and Cuba. Okay, Cuba can have both, but the Dominican Republic is absolutely the worst Spanish on the planet, right up there with Chile. Okay. Okay, so the story goes is that I can, all the stars are aligning. I have the right backpack, I have the right equipment, I have the right time frame. And this is very important if you got all the time in the world, is don't force the play. When I say that, I have all the time, and if the stars align, you should go. Because the opportunity when the right people, the right plane tickets, the right transportation come together, and the proper weather and all these things align, it's time to go, okay? And I'm very big on current events travel, which means, like I went to Yogyakarta when they had an earthquake. I was in Thailand on a tsunami when I went to Koh Phi Phi like a few days after the tsunami. I was in Iraq. I guess the war in Iraq, the second war in Iraq ended like May 30th or something. I was there in August of 2003. So current events travel is to be a witness to what is happening. Okay, and it's very fun to figure out what the reality is as opposed to what they put on the news. And I wasn't capable of watching the whole video of Tucker and this guy Brett, because it was bridging on orchestrating. And I'm not saying he was lying, I'm not saying any of that. Everything was pretty much correct, except for they went on the negative side of the situation and not on the neutral side. The situation is not as dire as anybody ever makes. War is highly overrated. Okay, I can tell you, I was in Ivory Coast when there was a war, and it was actually cars burning and things thrown over. War is highly overrated. It's kind of like a riot that gets out of control, and everybody that has any kind of sense avoids it. But the aid organizations, the journalists, and everybody sells clickbait, and so they constantly exacerbate the situation and portray it in the worst possible scenario. Okay, I'm Andy Lee Graham. I've lived abroad for 114 countries. My legs are still working. I'm 65 plus, and I'm at the proper weight. A lot of this is physical, right? I'm at proper emotional status. I'm a proper everything. The stars have aligned for me to go to the Darien Gap. I feel very, very good about this situation. It does become a little more difficult if there is an absence of electricity. I might want to upgrade some of my batteries, but you can't carry batteries on planes that easy, so I don't know what I'll do. I'll try to make my backpack lighter and then make the backpack heavier with the thing. And I will carry my backpack, I will carry my my best friend, my computer, right? But I have two computers, so what am I gonna do? Really, the best thing for me to do would be to fly to Panama, drop off 90%, say 70% of my stuff, get on a plane, and then go to Medellin, and then go across the Darien Gap, and then retrieve my backpack. Or I could send it, but there's no place to send it except back to Indiana, which is possible. Because if I send it back to Indiana, I would be leaving to go back to, or Monterey, California. I would be leaving, yeah, it'd be better to send it to Monterey. But these things all come together. There's a movie about Romeo and Love, and they asked the guy how things work out. He says, I don't know, but they always do. And that is how travel is. We don't know how they work out. Watch this, Shakespeare in Love, that's the name of the movie. In the movie, they ask this guy how things come together. He says, I don't know, but they always do. And that's the serendipitous beauty of travel. No risk, no rush. And war is highly overrated. All the news is out of control. All they're doing is, I don't know. I don't know what to say about it. It's a very shameful thing what the media has become. It's become nothing but National Enquirer newspaper, right? Okay, I'm Andy Lee Graham. I'm in Penn-Shell. My sister missed her plane, so I don't know. Somehow I will be at the airport whenever she arrives. Make sure that she feels safe. My expectation is she'll arrive either very early in the morning tomorrow or very late tonight, and I'll probably be sitting at the airport either way. And I will probably flag down a taxi, and we'll take a taxi. Bienvenido de la bulla del mundo. Bienvenido de la bulla del nuevo mundo. Okay, there's so much noise, guys. One way or the other, I would probably get her to Antigua. I got a hotel there already. I know Yachter. He's a friend of mine. And then the trip from Antigua to Penn-Shell is really easy. But I'm trying to go through Solala, no back route, so that we come up down the hill into one of the most majestic presentations first impressions of the lake possible. This is what I gave Mom Graham when she came here for 3 months. I flagged down a taxi and we arranged a private taxi. It wasn't pre-arranged. I normally just go to the taxi people and arrange a taxi. And it's a much easier, much faster way than having an arranged thing. But my sister missed the flight. I'm going to go to Guatemala. All the stars have aligned for me to go to the Darien Gap. Anybody that is extremely adventuresome, in extremely good shape, well-funded, that would like to do this. I already wrote my friend Jeff W. He's out in Portland, Oregon. He was in Tibet with me. And we were in India, Tibet, we were in Ecuador together, we were in Oaxaca, Mexico. I know him, he knows me, and I'm going to try to get him to do this. I think the trip's 60 miles. My guess it would take, I don't know, less than a week, okay? Because you're not going to walk this thing. That's just not the way. There's boats that go through it. But they could all be overloaded and we might have to sit there and wait for a boat. But we can also always peso our way through, right? What money do they use in Colombia? Okay, the immigration stamp is the bigger problem. Okay, I'm Andy Lee Graham. Join, hit that subscribe button, follow along. I'm one of the few travelers that has the experience because I've lived abroad for 114 years and 25 years and I've actually always just told the truth because I can't understand a life where you would lower your self-esteem by hyperbole and crap. I can't imagine being a journalist. They ought to put them in the center of the courtyard and put them in stocks. And they should make it illegal to lie. It should be illegal to lie at the press level, even on people that are things. See, they got this rule that you can't get libel if you're a famous person, and they should make it so that this is not true. That you can actually be held for libel if you're talking about a famous person. Libel and lies in the press has become the standard, and it needs to stop. Our country, the United States, is hopelessly over because they actually think it's a racist country abroad. We have 2 racist things happening in the country, and it becomes world news because it's the only 2 things that happened in that month. While racism is rampant in India, even Guatemala, and the world. But they don't talk about it because it's so prevalent that it's dangerous to talk about it. In the United States, it's front page news. Bunch of sad things happening in the United States. I'm very ashamed of the political situation. I'm ashamed of the politicians, and I'm ashamed of the press. They need put in stocks in the center of the courtyard and be shamed. They need shame. They don't need cancel, they need shame. But you can't even shame somebody because everybody lies at the person lying, right? It's a bunch of nuts. It's crazy. Okay, Andy Lee Graham, follow along. I got a Patreon thing now. It's always in every link. You can join my YouTube channel and pay monthly or kind of support, or you can, the better one is to do part of the Patreon thing. I'm here and you're not, why not?